You don't expect the creature you've raised and trained for years to turn on you. But that's exactly what happened to Zayn Marston. It wasn't just an accident. Nalani was sending a message. Zayn was one of the best. If this could happen to him, it could happen to anyone. On March 12, 2018, Zayn's life was tragically cut short in a way no one could have imagined, by the very creature he'd spent years bonding with. Nalani, a 30-foot orca, turned on Zayn in a brutal, unprovoked attack. This is the terrifying story of Zayn Marston's final moments. Zayn's career with orcas was built on respect, trust, and dedication. But on that fateful day, that trust was shattered forever. Before we dive into the details, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. Stay updated on more real-life animal attack stories. Your support helps us bring these important stories to light. Let's rewind and see how it all began. Sealand Marine Park was a popular destination, known for its incredible orca performances. Millions visited each year to witness the awe-inspiring displays. But behind the shows was a complex relationship between trainers and orcas, one that required trust, understanding, and sometimes deep emotional bonds. Zayn Marston, a passionate marine life expert, had dreamed of working with orcas for years. His calm, patient approach to training made him stand out. He respected the power of these creatures and spent hours learning their behavior, forming a special bond with Nalani, a 30-foot orca who had been at Sealand for over a decade. Zayn's unique approach was built on positive reinforcement, patience, and mutual respect. He spent time getting to know each whale's behavior and body language. Zayn and Nalani formed a perfect partnership, one that seemed unbreakable. But something darker was brewing beneath the surface. The stress of captivity, the pressure to perform, and the lack of freedom were taking a toll on Nalani. Trainers began noticing subtle, unpredictable changes in her behavior. Though Zayn remained unwavering in his dedication, an unease started to creep over those who worked closely with the orcas. Zayn believed in the bond he had with Nalani, but the reality of working with captive orcas is never without risk. Orcas are incredibly intelligent and emotional creatures, and sometimes even the deepest bond can't predict their actions. Nalani wasn't just any orca. She had been with Sealand for over 15 years, quickly becoming one of the most impressive performers ever. At 30 feet long and over 12,000 pounds, her sheer size was awe-inspiring. But it was her intelligence and beauty that truly set her apart. Nalani was known for mastering complex routines, captivating audiences, and leaving them breathless. Zayn had worked with Nalani for nearly a decade. Together, they formed a deep, trusting connection. Zayn often spoke of their unique language, a silent understanding that allowed them to perform flawless routines. To the crowd, it was magic. But Nalani wasn't just a performer. She was a complex creature with instincts, emotions, and needs that no training could fully control. What happened next would change everything. Stay tuned as we continue Zayn and Nalani's heartbreaking story. Over time, subtle signs began to show that Nalani was growing frustrated with her captivity. While some trainers chalked it up to her wild instincts, others feared the constant pressure of performing was starting to affect her mental and emotional well-being. In recent months, Nalani's behavior had become more unpredictable. Erratic movements during training, delayed reactions to commands, and occasional misinterpretations. Zayn, ever the professional, reassured his team that Nalani was simply adjusting to new routines. But deep down, there was an unsettling feeling that something was off. Nalani, a creature of immense power and intelligence, was becoming harder to manage, and the weight of captivity was beginning to show. It was a sunny morning, just another day of training at Sealand. The park buzzed with activity, but something felt different about Nalani that day. Her usually graceful movements were sharper, more deliberate, as if she were preparing for something. Zayn, as always, led the training session. He calmly entered the large pool, prepared to guide Nalani through the routine, speaking to her in his familiar, soothing voice. At first, everything seemed normal. Nalani performed her usual maneuvers, twirls, jumps, and synchronized movements. Zayn was focused, trusting in their bond. But as the session went on, things started to change. Nalani's movements became erratic. Her once synchronized routines were interrupted by sharp, sudden actions. It felt as though her attention was slipping away. Zayn caught the shift in her energy, noticing her hesitation before each leap, her power increasing with every jump. It was clear something had changed. The bond they had shared for years seemed to be slipping away, replaced by a tension neither Zayn nor anyone else could ignore. Zayn tried to regain control, calling out commands, but Nalani's behavior continued to escalate. Her once smooth coordination was replaced by sharp, disjointed movements. For a moment, it felt as though Nalani wasn't just ignoring Zayn's commands. She was challenging him. The connection between trainer and Orca, once unbreakable, was now being tested in ways no one could have predicted. Other trainers began to notice the change too, exchanging worried glances. In the months leading up to this day, Nalani had shown signs of distress, mood swings, frustration, and unpredictable behavior during certain routines. There were whispers about her struggle with the constant pressure to perform. But Zayn remained confident in their bond. That morning, however, something felt different. The tension in the water was palpable. The unspoken trust between Zayn and Nalani had unraveled. As Zayn prepared to issue another command, his heart began to race. He could feel it, the shift in the air. Nalani wasn't responding the way she had before. There was a wild, untamed energy now, and Zayn was about to learn just how dangerous that energy could become. Without warning, Nalani launched herself towards Zayn. Her massive body cut through the water with terrifying speed. Zayn, caught off guard, tried to react, but the force of her attack was unlike anything anyone had seen before. Her grip was unrelenting. The water around them erupted as Nalani thrashed violently, each movement sending waves crashing through the pool. The attack was unprovoked, raw, and terrifying. Zayn's body was tossed around like a rag doll as Nalani dragged him deeper into the water. Her immense strength overwhelmed him. Trainers on the sidelines stood frozen, unable to comprehend what was happening. This wasn't a training session anymore. It was a nightmare unfolding in real time. One trainer later said, "I couldn't believe it. Zayn and Nalani always had this special bond. One minute they were performing together, and the next, everything changed. It was like Nalani wasn't the same animal anymore." The chaos around the pool exploded. Trainers rushed to the edge, shouting desperately, grabbing poles, emergency equipment, anything they could find. But Nalani's powerful movements made it impossible to reach Zayn in time. His body was thrown under the water again and again, and the tension grew with every passing second. The cries of the trainers filled the air, but they were powerless against Nalani's fury. Zayn's struggle grew weaker, his movements fading as the seconds dragged on. The Orca's grip tightened, and there was no way anyone could intervene quickly enough. It felt like the bond Zayn had spent years building with Nalani had shattered in an instant. The frantic shouts of his colleagues were a blur, their hands reaching out to help, but all they could do was watch as Zayn was dragged further into the water. Panic set in. One trainer screamed, "Get the ropes, get the ropes." But the water churned around Nalani, who seemed completely disconnected from the animal they had known for so long. She showed no signs of stopping, her movements becoming even more violent. The chaos continued as the trainers tried to rescue Zayn. One trainer dove into the water, desperate to reach him, but the Orca's violent thrashing made it nearly impossible. The others threw ropes, hoping to grab Zayn before it was too late, but with every passing second, hope began to fade. What felt like hours in the frantic struggle was, in reality, only minutes. The sound of crashing water, Zayn's cries for help, and the desperate calls to rescue him all blended together into a blur of fear and confusion. After the attack, Zayn was rushed to the hospital, but tragically, he did not survive his injuries. The news of his death sent shockwaves through Sealand and beyond. The park was immediately shut down for investigation, as authorities and experts tried to piece together what led to the unthinkable. The incident raised serious questions about the safety protocols at Sealand, and more importantly, about the emotional and psychological toll captivity took on the orcas. The community was left in shock. Zayn, a beloved figure at the park, had dedicated his life to working with orcas. Now, he was gone. His colleagues who had witnessed the attack firsthand were shaken to their core, grappling with the loss of a friend and fellow trainer. Zealand had been Zayn's second home, and his tragic death left a void that could never be filled. The investigation that followed was thorough and intense. Authorities, marine biologists, and animal behavior experts examined the area where the attack occurred, searching for any clues that might explain Nalani's sudden shift in behavior. Was there a trigger? A single moment that set off the violent reaction? Or was it simply the tragic result of years of captivity taking a toll on an already stressed animal? The investigation also scrutinized the safety protocols, questioning how the attack could happen despite strict training routines. This incident led to a broader conversation about the treatment of orcas in captivity, particularly about their emotional and psychological well-being. Though the exact cause of Nalani's aggression may never be fully understood, experts believe the attack stemmed from mounting stress, both physical and emotional. Orcas, known for their intelligence, are often deeply affected by the confinement, lack of stimulation, and constant pressure to perform. The psychological strain can lead to unpredictable and violent behavior. Marine biologists pointed out that orcas, by nature, are social creatures. In the wild, they travel in pods, hunt, and engage in complex social structures. In captivity, they are deprived of these natural behaviors, which can cause frustration, aggression, and even self-harm. What happened to Nalani wasn't isolated. It's part of a much larger issue surrounding the ethics of keeping these animals in captivity for entertainment. The attack sparked public outrage, with animal rights activists demanding changes in how orcas are treated. Many saw Nalani's violent outburst as the tragic result of years of trauma and forced performance. As news of Zayn's death spread, tributes poured in, but the underlying question remained. Was Zayn's death a freak accident, or was it a consequence of the systemic issues surrounding orca captivity? And what did this mean for the future of Sealand and the treatment of its orcas? In the aftermath, Nalani was removed from the performance shows. The once celebrated orca, known for her strength and grace, was now isolated in a holding pool. The public began to question if her violent attack was the result of years of confinement and forced performances. The demand for justice grew, not just for Zayn, but for Nalani and all orcas in captivity. Animal rights groups intensified their protests, calling for the release of captive orcas. They argued that keeping such intelligent creatures in small tanks, away from their natural social groups, was unethical. The controversy surrounding Nalani's attack only fueled the debate. Experts like Dr. Naomi Rose warned that orcas in captivity are often isolated, denied the ability to form natural bonds, and subjected to extreme psychological stress. Though Sealand and other marine parks maintained they were doing everything they could to provide a safe environment for their orcas, public opinion shifted. Calls for the release of orcas, or at least placing them in larger, more natural enclosures, grew louder. The question emerged: could the only way to truly honor these magnificent animals be to set them free? As the investigation continued and the debate over orca captivity raged on, it became clear that Zayn's tragic death had sparked a turning point, one that could change everything for orcas in captivity. The days of unquestioning admiration for Sealand's orca shows were quickly fading. What had once been seen as entertainment now gave way to a stark reality. The very system that made Nalani a star might have played a part in her violent outburst. Zayn Marston's tragic death became a painful reminder of the dangers of keeping such powerful, intelligent creatures in captivity. His bond with Nalani proved the deep connections that can form between humans and animals, but his life was cut short, and with his passing, a broader message emerged. These animals, with their immense intelligence and strength, were never meant to live in captivity. Zayn's legacy now stands as a symbol for those who believe orcas like Nalani deserve more than a life confined behind glass and bars. As the world grapples with the ethics of captivity, Zayn's story shines a light on the urgent need for change. His death wasn't just a loss for the marine park community, it was a loss for anyone who believes that animals should live freely as they were meant to. Nalani's violent outburst serves as a painful reminder of the consequences captivity has both for the animals and for the people working with them. It's a call to action for all of us to rethink how we view animals in entertainment and to fight for a future where creatures like orcas are given the freedom they deserve. If you believe in animal rights and the freedom of captive orcas, support organizations working toward their release. Like, subscribe, and share this video to spread awareness. Let's honor Zayn's memory by working towards a world where orcas and all animals are free from captivity.